sustentável na categoria Autenticidade e Aventura Ecológica. Brad Robinson é diretor executivo e proprietário da Thrive Tours, empresa de ecoturismo de propriedade totalmente indígena, sediada em Sault-Sainte-Marie, no Ontário, Canadá. Membro da Nação Oneida do Tamisa e licenciado em Estudos Nativos pela Universidade Laurentian, fundou a Thrive Tours em 2021, em parceria com Amanda Cora, oferecendo experiências autênticas de turismo sustentável que combinam aventuras ao ar livre com cultura e saberes indígenas. Artista multidisciplinar e cantor tradicional nos Black Bull Mood Singers, é uma voz apaixonada pela educação cultural e pela conservação ambiental. Em 2025, a Thrive Tours foi distinguida com o Prémio Liderança na Sustentabilidade da Associação de Turismo Indígena do Canadá, em reconhecimento do seu compromisso com a sustentabilidade social, cultural e ambiental. Brad Robinson tem a palavra. Welcome, Brad. The floor is yours.
Can everyone hear me? I've got this microphone on me here. Is it off or is it on? Are we good? Can you can all hear me if I get away from this? Can you? All right. Okay, got it. So that's me. Can everyone say Shiboli? Bonjour. Je connais qui donnait, j'ai déjà donné des choses à l'année, donc I got I spoke two languages just then. Those two languages were both my own. People, native people on the island. And it's really important to speak that language and the language that we reside in Sault area, which is Bauti, which is a place, a meeting-based place, a gathering place of the Anishinaabe people or Ojibwe people. And I was gifted the same, it was something that was before I was born, I was actually steering from the creator, and that was in Anishinaabe or in the language of Anishinaabe, the language of the Ojibwe people. I'll speak to that a little bit later, but my English name, as you see here, is Brad Robbins, and I am the CEO of Thrive Tours. We're based, like I said, out of 16 Ontario, so that's a little ways away, but we're actually part of the mine as well. So now that we are on Canada and the US, we've always considered Turtle Island. So from one islander to the next to the others, and you all and greetings. Before I start here, I'm going to, this is a little bit about me. Thank you for having us. I'm going to show a video. I don't know if the video's audio is going to come through. Okay, well, maybe the audio doesn't come through, but just feast your eyes on the videos. We have many different experiences, and these are some of them. You can all apply that. Very well, I'm not sure what to do here. It's okay. This image, is sort of representative of our, original, way of starting things. It is called the words that come before all else. And I'm going to, share with you, this is a tradition that we've done since time immemorial. I'm going to read something out here for you. And, so greetings and thanks to each other as people, to the earth, mother of all, greetings and thanks. To all the waters, rainfalls and rain, rivers and oceans, greetings and thanks. To all the fish living, greetings and thanks. The grains and the greens, beans and berries, as we sing thanks to plant foods. Medicine herbs of all the world, and our keepers, greetings and thanks. To all animals and their teachings, greetings and thanks. To the trees for shelter and shade, beauty and fruits, greetings and thanks. To all the birds, large and small, joyful greetings and thanks. And for our four directions, the four winds, thank you for purifying the air we breathe and giving us strength, greetings. The thunderers, our grandfathers in the sky, we hear your voices, greetings, thanks. And now the sun, for all the light of a new day, and all the fires of life, greetings and thanks. And to our oldest grandmother, the moon, leader of women all over the world, and the stars for their mystery, beauty, and guidance, greetings and thanks. To our teachers, from all times, reminding us of how to live in harmony, greetings and thanks. And for all the gifts of creation, for all the love around us, greetings and thanks. And for that which is forgotten, we remember. We end our words. Now our minds are one. You can see the representatives of all of our things around us, all of our relatives are symbolized in this image. And that, in fact, that particular greetings, Thanksgiving address, our elders, some of our elders, can say that for days. In fact, I was participating and I heard a person for 45 minutes straight. All of the thanks from everything to the lowest low to the highest high. They would be categorized. They would say thanks every single before they do this one, before they do a yearly gathering. And I did it for very shortly, but as we can see, there's a lot of things here to thank for. And thank you for allowing us to be here and talking about this. We, as I said before, from Triple it's an island that I represent this of the shell that I wear on here in my bag. It's a secret bundle. And also, I'm going to sing a song for you. Would you like that? All right. Now, inside my bag, that actually my sister Nicole made for me just recently. It's handmade. Here's this thing called a shaker. Shaker is symbolic of our ceremony, our people, that energy inside of us. And this just so happens to show our island, the turtle of our island as well. And I'm going to sing Thank you. This song actually is really important to me for many different reasons. That is an honor song. I've learned that from years ago. But I think that the one thing that makes it so important is it really bases us on who we are. As you can see, I have on the very left of us, right, I guess, and you, some of you may remember, myself and my father, Alan Robinson. My father, we speak a little bit about him, because really, sustainability comes through succession, comes through our shared experiences, comes through our DNA. And my father has shared a lot with me. My father has gone through some things that not many people would ever want to go through. But he was forced out of his community to grow up in non-Indigenous homes. We're from our community just outside of London, Ontario, which is maybe about an hour outside of the Toronto or the GTA. And as an Oneida person, 4 years old, being taken out of his community and being raised somewhere else, that was separate in our culture. And we have had, he would be considered a 60s survivor. So as a 60s survivor and going to over 30 different foster homes, he was raised in conditions that were very difficult to be raised in. And perseverance has been something that he has overcome or learned within himself. And he had that not just in his own upbringing or how he actually figured out how to inner his inner motivation or his inner his ancestral strength. And my father taught me because he wasn't taught growing up how this culture was because he wasn't afforded that capability or that education. But he told me, you have to learn whatever you can and then share as much. So through years and through all the education that I've received over the years, I've been able to absorb cultural information and be able to share that. Through ceremony, lived experiences, authenticity for us comes through this sense of being, the sense of wellness, that's considered holistic wellness. But that's something that we've known forever, forever. on Turtle Island, our people arranged across what's considered North America. North America, we never knew this entity called North America. It was always Turtle Island to us. And our people, our cousins, we've been there sometime more. Now scholars are now sharing that we've been there for even over 100,000 years. It's a lot of time on a place, on territory, understanding the land. Through our DNA, essentially, is something that we hold true and something that we realize all have that intelligence. For us, technologies get shared, but it's not to our gain and to us just thriving as people connected to the land and water. The importance of what you might see here, my father, on that medal right there that you see on there, when he was in his early 20s, he actually fought a police fight, but it wasn't actually a fight. It was a fight in more he got enrolled in the army when he got from a couple wartime versus late in the 17th. And their agreement, though, in order for him to be adopted before he was unadoptable, was that he served in the American, or sorry, the Canadian Army or something of that nature. And so he chose to serve the country that didn't serve him. Our country stripped away our rights as Indigenous people, and he went forth and still went and actually served a year in Germany as a tank commander, as a tank driver, and communicator, and that is a naval medal back in the war in Germany. He learned a lot of things, but one of the things that he learned that he had to be the best in order to be average because he was an Indian. And so technically, they don't call, they're not called Indians much anymore. We prefer Indigenous, but as an Indigenous person, he had to be the best. So he had to be the best, breaking down weapons, building it up because of the problem of racism within within the army as was then. And he always had everything. So that's where I come from. So I guess in some way, I wish myself as well. And on this world stage, I feel that now the world is starting to listen. We've known these things since memorial, all these sustainable practices, but now the world is starting to reach out and say, "Do you explain a little bit more of the things that we once told us?" And we're explaining that. As you can see here, this is my late mother, who just passed just over a month ago. And that's myself in my early 20s. And this is my son, Logan. Logan was well, he's now going to be turning 30. So it takes some time. But my mother was the first ally that my father didn't know much about the culture because of what I explained. But my mother knew that you need to learn from them. So she encouraged me to learn something that she was learning. So she's actually she was Ukrainian, Scottish, essentially growing up. So I had one side and fully together. But my mother, being a good ally, she said, you need to know your culture. So for that, once I did get into, interacting with people, I started with that I knew very well, and I knew people a lot. So therefore, I continued to learn a lot, and then I passed that information and ceremony, all that. My son now has his own son and daughter. So I'm a grandparent. That was a while ago, but I wanted to show you that generation, the generational ancestral, and it passed down through both sides of my family. When we offer sema or tobacco in our church, they call it sema. On me, I have tobacco in this pouch, and I carry that with me when we are on our tours. We do private tours, we do eco-cultural tours within King and beyond, but we really share this idea of connecting with land and water. And we do that through this tobacco, this ceremonial tobacco that was gifted. And this tobacco is not liquid tobacco, the smoke is free of all those chemicals that they addictive. This in itself is very ceremonial. This is a representation of our people, humans. And when we place it in the water as this first human is placing it in water, we've been doing that forever. Right? Placing it, saying that we were connected to water because we're made of water. So that's within us, the water that we drink, the water that comes down here, the mountains, the water that comes up or street-fed lakes, it's all the same. That same water was the water that was strained on with our ancestors, the dinosaurs, a long time back. It's the same, exact same water, they would have done the same thing. So it doesn't ever end, it always continues. That's sustainability provided that we treat it well. Next, this is our reminder, and moving together, Amanda and one of our MPP of the area, Terry Jim, is there. These two fellows right here are very important. There's a former chief, Dean Sayers, and we have the current chief, Mark McCoy, and both of them, this is a historic moment. For us to connect the leaders together as a business, as an organization, it talks to us about shared experiences and reciprocity. Also, I'll explain a little bit later, but this connecting of intellects and of abilities, it really does foster change. And I think that's really what we do the most is we try to foster change. And because not always did that ever happen, where two agencies, like First Nations and Canada, we weren't always, communicating as well as we could. So having this connection, and certainly as we go forward, we're going to have that with prime ministers, is really important to us. Dean Sayers has been very instrumental to us, and Mark has been very generous to us in getting this past years as well. So I'll explain a little bit more. We have Turtle Island, as you can see. If you look at the island itself, it doesn't represent a turtle. You can see the symbols quite clearly within that turtle. One of the things that is really amazing about a turtle is it holds a lot of teachings. It holds teachings that I'm wearing a turtle shell on my shoe. This turtle shell is comprised of 13 scoops. 13 calendars were a thing, meaning the 13 calendar on the back. That is something that we, everything within these year. Not our year looks so different, no. Probably not, but we have quite a bit of stuff. But we do certain things at different times of the year. Each one of these has different times that we can plant certain things, different times that we can tell certain stories. All built into this one calendar. It predates any calendar that we've ever known, and it still holds true. This is the digital Quantum Wampum Belt. The digital Quantum was a covenant, actually the first treaty that our people have signed, the Important Treaty of People. This is a belt that's made up of a bunch of small shells that have been crafted beads created into a belt. That dish is the circle that you see depicted on that represents the land and the water. This dish represents all of the food, all of the tremendous, land and water resources that we have. It also represents the ability to share. That spoon that's in the middle is a symbol of the ability to share and take only what they need and then pass it to another person have what they need only. And it goes all around the community. And essentially that is the first sustainable model that we have ever known. This fish was once in Wampum, and this is well, this hundreds of years ago, we traded that, and because at some point we weren't friendly. The English and the French eventually got us to do and to fight for their own interests, and we decided, at some point we're going to put down this bearer hatches and actually create peace within our community. So that's part of that symbol. This key symbol. Doing things in a sustainable way, regardless of how it looks, has to be done in agreement with everyone. The machinery and the enchanted show people how each other's abilities and to appreciate all of our differences and build similarities. That's really what that model does. There's another wampum belt that we have. This is the tuber wampum. It's the Geflenta, we call it. The Geflenta, or the tuber wampum, is when early contact with the Europeans, the Dutch Europeans, they were people that had a tremendous amount of importance. We knew that they had their own laws, they had their own ways, they had their own abilities, and really, we knew that by connecting with them and tapping into their abilities was an important thing for us to do. This was the first reconciliation. This was the idea of going along together, separate, but with common interests. The two rows of purple beads that you see there along represent the Dutch ships or the European ships. One of them is us in our canoe. The agreement was that we don't jump into each other's vessels and try to navigate. That's one of the rules. We, through friendship and through honor their teachings and they honor. And we continue going. The idea with these strings off of either side is that it continues going on until the sun shines and the grasses and trees grow. So essentially, that was a forever covenant. The Dutch, they wanted to seal it in English, or in pen and ink. Paper with that faded. And then it's she reminded me. So the caps that we have on these, they don't come off, which is kind of an interesting thing. This is also something of a sustainable practice, is to look at our things that we do, how we do it, and how the fact that it is that we do it in a sustainable way. We'll have better, again, looking at those ways that we over these overpopulation or overuse ways. And actually, this talked about that. So when we agreed with the Dutch, we said you have to leave the rivers clean and pure. That was one of the agreements. The one of the things about getting towards this idea of partnership. Now we're here in the era. One of the things that we believe that partnering with global players such as GreenStep is similar to your green tea, I guess. It's a sustainable organization that audits and they contribute to this broader sense of how well you do what you do or you back up what you say. And in fact, we won 3 awards that one year this past year between provincial, national, and international awards for sustainability. Green Step sponsored 2 of those awards, both provincially and national. But we also won a international award, and that was through the Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada, and also the they have a branch, or there's a branch of them, and actually it's still an entity called Destination Regional Indigenous Tourism. So through Indigenous tourism internationally, that team goes around and it goes. They now have already tourism and very Indigenous tourism association. They are very big partners in sustainable tourism. They're completely on and going to different islands and describing how obviously people like Indigenous tourism in those areas. We were awarded obviously be the ones that would be. So when we went to St. Maria, we went to Gauteng, we got the Anishinaabe people that tell us, and that's what we continue to do. So people like us, we would create a framework to those cultures, whatever it be, into a very manageable and sustainable form factor, and we're developing new partners around the world. We have talks with Gary to talk about their sustainability actions moving forward and their actions. And we are most excited to be able to talk about the folks are involved. And what we do have as a gift, if you wanted to reach out to us, just if it's to Instagram, Sackright Tours, or if it's to any of the contact links you decide, we will continue to we will give you more information and also a little bit about that when you reach out to me. And it will give you a framework that you yourself can use in your own organizations and countries. Lastly, myself, my mother, this was just under a year before she was, around a year before she passed, and Walker are this symbol of strength and continuity. And I love to be able to demonstrate that our intelligence flows through us, and our family ties and the things that we pass down are very, very strong to us. We share this sentiment with our guests, and we share the sentiment with any of the partners we have. It's the fact that we do it not for us, but for the 7th generation. We have a philosophy that what we do now should positively affect the 7th generation. We're not talking about, some small periods of time. We're talking about 2-3 years of mandates we're having. We're talking about 7 generations. Now, the generation of 27 years, you can imagine, that's a long ways away. But that's the sustainability model built our philosophy of the 7th generation philosophy. And that's just a few generations of that 7th generation. Now we're on to one. Is that amazing? We have a lastly, thank you, Yellow in my language. Thank you, and obrigado is how we say it here in Portuguese. I'll say that. Obrigado, Yahweh, and thank you very much. This is my information. Reach out to me, feel free. We are on Instagram and feel free to follow the things that we're doing from here on. We do a lot of exciting things. I didn't explain a lot of the nuances of our business, but really it comes down to it. I think that video at the beginning might have showed a little bit of the passion that we provide our guests. So, Deanna Madera, yes, my wife said, please, if you send us Instagram message or everything, just make sure that put Madera in there so we know that we're going to set it. It's free of cost, and we'll have a conversation. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brett, for your inspiring speech, for your vision. Uma história que efetivamente nos inspira e demonstra como a visão, o rigor e também a autenticidade podem transformar uma ideia num projeto premiado à escala internacional. Felizmente, há esperança. Continuemos agora a navegar. O oceano é ao mesmo tempo o maior desafio e o maior recurso das ilhas. Para abordar o tema sustentabilidade costeira, recebemos o diretor do Fórum de Economia Urbana para a Ibero-América e Caraíbas. Eduardo Ortiz Jasso é arquiteto e urbanista mexicano com 30 anos de experiência em planeamento urbano sustentável na América Latina e Caraíbas. Licenciado pela Universidade Nacional Autónoma do México e mestre pela Universidade Ibero-Americana do México, é diretor fundador do Instituto de Planeamento Urbano de Cancún e da Agência de Projetos Estratégicos. O seu plano Cancún 2030 recebeu o Prémio de Excelência em Planeamento Urbano no Congresso Mundial de Planeamento de 2008 em Dalian, na China. Membro da Sociedade Internacional de Planeadores de Cidades e Regiões desde 2002, coordenou a iniciativa de prosperidade das cidades da ONU Habitat, no México, e é reconhecido como um urbanista visionário que criou instituições de referência na sua região. Eduardo Ortiz Jasso, queira por favor dirigir-se ao púlpito para a sua intervenção. É uma honra poder contar com esta partilha.
Boa tarde. It's a great pleasure for me to be here and a real honor. Congratulations, Dr. Andrea, for your great work and the work of all your team. You have a very great team. Brad, let me tell you congratulations. I was listening to you and I was thinking in the Mayan culture. There is a lot of similarities in the concepts. The Mayan culture also have a calendar that on the cycles of life in 13 with the number 13. There is a lot of similarities. Congratulations for your great work. I'm going to talk about what the urban economy is. The urban economy is an organization that was created by the United Nations with the support of the government of Canada, especially with the support of, in that beginning 8 years ago, with the support of the Canadian Institute of Housing. And in that time, our goals and the vision, it was to be the leader for global dialogue and innovative solutions on sustainable human resources. Our values are open dialogue, leadership, innovation. And the truth about why exists the Urban Economy Forum is it was because the need of implementation. We are not, our network and our efforts are not focusing in more planning or, of course, in create networks. But for us, the financing matters, and of course, the implementation of the projects and the capacities of the communities and the cities are the most important thing. We facilitate partnerships between cities, financial institutions, urban developers, academics, and the public and private sectors to promote sustainable urban development. We work with cities to align strategic goals and priorities with global agendas and programs to support strategic investment in sustainable and inclusive urbanization. We create an interactive global network for cities, academia, financial institutions, and professionals to identify and share innovative solutions for sustainable urban economics and urban management. The challenges and opportunities for sustainable urban and coastal economic development in Iberoamerica and the Caribbean, that is the region that we are in charge of, course, including all the Atlantic. This is a big region. The current population of Latin America and the Caribbean is estimated at 663 million people, and more than 80% of its inhabitants live in urban areas. 21% of the region's population lives in informal settlements and areas excluded from basic services and climate resilience infrastructure. The Iberian Peninsula currently has almost 60 million of inhabitants. The region is one of the most urbanized regions globally. More than 80% of its own populations lives in urban areas, and this is projected to increase to 81% by 2050. This growth outpaces formal land use planning and management process. Between 1990 and 2015, informal housing increased from 6% to 26% and was concentrated in areas of high environmental vulnerability, such as floodplains, flood-prone areas, sites, and coastal zones. The coastal zone of the region has a length greater than 7,000 kilometers, and it develops diverse ecosystems of great socio-environmental value, such as cliffs, coral reefs, deltas, dunes, estuaries, coastal lagoons, freshwater wetlands, like in the Caribbean, among others. The region is one of the most biodiverse regions in the world. Approximately 60% of the planet's terrestrial life and diverse marine and freshwater species are found in the region. It is home of 3 of the 5 countries with the greatest number of birds, amphibians, mammals, reptiles, fish, and plants in the world. The Amazon region alone contains 10% of the world's biodiversity. This vast biodiversity is not only a treasure trove of natural wealth, but also a catalyst for opportunities in various sectors. 60% of the region's population is located within the first 100 kilometers from the coastline. In the period of 1945 to 2005, the coastal cities with more than 100,000 inhabitants increased from 63 to 466 cities, and the population increased from 25 million to more than 192 million. Urban growth associated with the growth of sectors such as tourism, of course, ports, and industry. The rapid growth of the real estate tourism sector in the coastal area of the region triggers a rapid growth in urban development, generating various cumulative environmental impacts associated with the loss of degradation of ecosystem, the depletion of annual resources, water, fishing resources, among others, and pollution problems in air, water, and soil, among others. Tourism and urban growth also entails generation of social impacts such as low quality of life due to the lack of infrastructure and services, segregation, and social inequality. displacement of communities, changes in social and cultural identity, economic inequality, and pressure to resources among others. As if we see a framework through the analysis of the main environmental, social, governance challenges faced by these cities and tourist destinations, in the case of environmental, by example, in climate change, the challenges are coming by the rise in sea level, impact of hurricanes, floods, heat islands, fires, sargassums. Like I said before, in the Caribbean, there is something that is happening every day. Coastal erosions, the loss of dunes and others, loss of degradations of ecosystems, decrease of loss of environmental goods and services, overexploitation and depletion of natural resources, again, like water, soils, biodiversity, energy, hydrocarbons, minerals, others. Pollution, again, in air, water, soil, ecosystems, and light and landscape pollution. Environmental liabilities of regional coverage generated by government development policies and programs, and generating along the value chain by companies and at the core level. In terms of social, we have inequality and poverty, access to basic services like housing, education, health, public services, digital inclusion and others, migration and mobility, displacement of native pollutions, as I said before, migration to countries with better job opportunities, and quality of life. Security, violence, crime, lack of governance, among others. Political and economic instability, loss of investment, loss of change, loss of housing, impacts of economic activities, impacts on health, etc. In governance, the territorial management instruments, regulation alliance, stakeholders groups, financing for sustainable development, financing for sustainable and regenerative development projects, government investment in sustainable infrastructure, development of financial market for the development of regenerative activities and economies, financing for strategic sustainable development issues, common framework of sustainable finance taxonomy, in regional integration, strengthening regional coordination and cooperation for the integration of resilient, regenerative, sustainable, and inclusive development model. So what do we last year, this new initiative? We call it the name Sustainable Economies. What is this? This is a network of cities and tourist destinations in America, as I said before, the Caribbean, and of course, all this big region includes the Atlantic. We proposed this project. Our goals is to implement an alliance between coastal cities and tourist destinations with financial institutions, developers, the academic, public, and private sectors for collaboration and technical assistance in order to guide the development of sustainable, resilient, inclusive, safe, and regenerative models that contributes to the 2030 Agenda and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, promote agendas, initiatives, and projects for the renaturalization of cities and tourism destinations in the region, as well as to restore and conserve and preserve the natural, cultural, and historical capital promoting best practice, ones that we have seen here, initiatives and projects that for the renaturalization, sharing, promoting best practices, innovative solutions for the design and management of regenerative cities and tourism. So as well, strategic investment in the sustainable development of cities and tourist destinations, promoting 3 pilot projects. We want to start with 3 pilot projects. With the signature of the agreement yesterday with Madeira, of course, we are going to analyze the projects for here, and this is, of course, Madeira, one of the main hands to choose, for us to choose one of the projects of Madeira. Audit and monitor the achievement of SDGs 11, that is related to communities and cities, and of course, sustainable urban and tourist development at the local level. This roadmap for the execution of all this in the next year, we are going to start with installing, and we will start with an event of, we are calling this event Ministerial Roundtable. It will be hosted in Dominican Republic. We believe that it will be before the end of the year. What do we want to do there? Of course, integrate a realistic diagnosis of all the regions. We are going to work in the definition of these projects that we are going to discuss and review with all this first meeting group. We are going to work and define the implementation for each project. We are going to prepare, of course, the executive framework for each one, the project development. We're going to work in the technical supervision and the reporting. We are going, of course, to develop an implementation action plan. Our organization is in, of course, the finance side, but focusing in the real implementation of the projects. So from there, we will move to communication. Our plan is to have every year a reporting of what is happening in all the product of this project, these 3 pilot projects. It is proposed that we, at this beginning, we had conversations with different coastal cities and, of course, islands that they want to be part of this initiative. Some of the main cities that we are working, and they will start with us to work in this first ministerial roundtable in Dominican Republic. We have information of Cancun, Punta Cana, that it will be a city in Dominican Republic, Panama City, Cartagena, Colombia, Rio de Janeiro, Valparaíso, San Juan de Puerto Rico, Barcelona from Spain, of course, Madeira, San Pedro Belize. When I say San Pedro Belize, in the reality, we're talking about all the keys. San Pedro Belize has a lot of keys, some one, but it will be there, and Roatán in Honduras. So it is proposed that this ministerial round table meeting will be attended by government representatives, urban development, tourism, economy, and environmental related from the cities and destinations with the following objectives. One of them will be identify the main challenges. We saw a lot of challenges here in the last presentations, but also the opportunities for the inclusive, sustainable, and regenerative development of their cities, the coastal cities, and the tourist destinations. Identify sites with potential for the development of inclusive, regenerative, and safe city projects, the pilots that I mentioned. Present the initiative and announce its formal launch through the signing of an Allied Cities Agreement. And with these projects for strategic, we will present these projects for strategic investment that will enable the development of a model of inclusive, regenerative, and safe cities and tourist destinations. We have a specific, we call it our technical arm in terms of financing in Canada, where we have different funds, different initiatives and resources. So our plan is to present these pilot projects at that platform. From my side is all I want to share. Congratulations again for this initiative. We are more than happy, and we recognize that Madeira is doing a lot of things. Is a front runner island. That's why is that recognition for Madeira. We know that Madeira for Portugal is one of the places that is leading the accomplishment of the goals, SDGs, especially in energy and sustainability. So there's a lot of more things to do. They are doing a lot of things now in economy. So it's great for us to be part of this and support you and count with us. Thank you so much. Obrigado.
Muito obrigada, Sr. Eduardo Ortiz Jasso, por este contributo, uma contribuição que nos recorda efetivamente a dimensão global da responsabilidade que partilhamos na proteção dos oceanos e das costas insulares, uma temática que nos é tão cara para nós insulares. Recebemos agora o fundador e diretor executivo da Sustalium, com o tema Conformidade de Negócios e Sustentabilidade de forma simples. Youssef Kayali é fundador e diretor executivo da Sustalium, plataforma que capacita as pequenas e médias empresas para navegar a complexidade regulatória dos requisitos do Regulamento Europeu de Inteligência Artificial às exigências de sustentabilidade ambiental, social e de governança, transformando assim numa vantagem altamente competitiva. Com mais de 15 anos de experiência em liderança na rocha de Diagnostics, aplica hoje esse conhecimento para simplificar a conformidade regulatória e a sustentabilidade à escala global. Mr. Youssef Kayali, welcome, you have the floor.
Everybody's waiting. We're just getting the presentation up. Before lunch, it's always a very difficult time. Energy's low. Everybody's waiting for food. So one of the first slides is actually exercise. And this is a challenge. And the first one that completes it gets a prize. Small prize, no monetary value, no taxes to be paid, just a small prize. Some of you might have tube of cream, might have water bottles, might have some snacks. If you can get them out, and BPA-free, vegan-friendly, any of those kinds of labels, recycled, you name it. Who can find the actual claim? The proof, the evidence, the facts of that claim. Anyway, you don't have. This is one of the big challenges. visualization is becoming a very big topic, but also so is trust. Can you trust the facts that people are claiming? We're already seeing greenwashing is a big thing that's happened everywhere. People state that it's recyclable, people say it's sustainable, but the evidence. There was a big study just 4 years ago in the EU, where food material, food plates, straws, spoons were tested for harmful chemicals, even though they were imported from different countries like China, Vietnam, Thailand, with labels that there were no microplastic, no metals, no PFAS. When they did the test, all of them had these chemicals in there. They couldn't prove it. They could not prove that these things were not in the product. And this is what we're facing. Sustainability is a differentiator. It's a marketing tool. Very well. You want to make claims, and you said as well, make sense. How can we actually help these people to do things, but then also that need to be. And this is why we actually created Sustalium here in Madeira, because of this need. Because we were facing competition, other countries, and we couldn't compete. We couldn't compete on price, we couldn't compete on claims. Our background here in Madeira is based on something called bagasse. Does anybody know this? Just a few. So you might not know, and especially for the non-Madeiran people, sugarcane is a big business in Madeira. It's actually the biggest grower of sugarcane in Europe, continental Europe. It's also the place that brought it to the Caribbean, where so Poncha, so somebody already mentioned, is a big component of that. But out of all the sugarcane that's grown on the island, a lot of it is left to rot. The bio-waste, the bagasse. They don't know what to do with it. We already heard from our distinguished guest that waste is a big problem for Ireland. You can't ship it out, it's too expensive. You can't burn it because there's natural environments and forest fires are really big. You can't leave it to rot because then it'll pond the groundwater. So what do you do with it? So together with Luis Franco, the CEO of Fires, an innovative technology was developed to create products out of this bagasse. Really innovative. We worked with universities here in Madeira. We worked with engineers all over Germany, Spain, really this way. So we have this great product made in Europe, made raw materials in Europe, circular economy, great story. Sorry. What do our suppliers say? What do the buyers say in Europe? Where are your claims? Can you actually prove this is made from bagasse? Can you prove that there's no pesticides in there? Can you prove that it's PFAS free? Because the things that we're buying from China, from India, have those certificates. Trying to get a organization to come to Madeira to do certifications is very expensive, especially for a small startup. It costs us, for one certificate, for one test, one auditor to come over, nearly 12,500 euros. To do a study, to do the evaluation, to do everything. In total, the maths, and we'll see later on, in total, we need about 17 different certificates. We wanted that we, and the hotel, rightfully so, said, unfortunately, you're missing some certificates and we can't serve the food on your place. And this is the challenge that we're facing. All the sustainability aspects that you want, all the good intentions, all the invention that you have, you are restricted to certain laws. Some of them mandatory, some of them voluntary. I liked how you mentioned the green key, Brad, in your speech. Green key, voluntary certificates in many locations. It's not owned by any government. Certificate. Organizations in Europe, TUI, as in that if you, as a hotel, Airbnb, bed and breakfast, do not have a green key certificate, you will not be part of their portfolio. So that makes actually voluntary certificate a mandatory one. So as a small Airbnb practice or a small bed and breakfast, you are forced to get a certificate if you want those clients. So this is where we were with Madeira, Matt Fibers. We have a great innovative process. We are removing waste from the island. We are adding value. We have social goals established as well, people working. We have social programs with education. Great. But we're stuck with that compliance component. So what do we do on an island? And James, you mentioned it very well. You innovate, right? If you're faced with the trouble, you innovate. You develop something new. And so we developed Sustalium. Sustalium is a platform, a digital platform, which allows to generate certificates and compliance documents faster, easier, and quicker. It doesn't circumvent traditional processes. It actually helps bring them together. Think about it this way. In 1950, there were 5 global compliance frameworks at that time. In the 1980s, you might remember some of the Exxon oil crisis and some of the other ESG initiatives that were going out there. There were about 80 compliance frameworks across the globe. There was the Paris Accord in 2005, which exploded it up to about 350 compliance frameworks and sustainability frameworks across the globe. Today, as we talk, there's about 800 compliance frameworks across the globe. And going in 2030, there's a projection that there's going to be about 1,500. Think about it. Some of the EU AI acts are going to be implemented. Some of the proposals are going to be implemented. There's a big shift coming on there. Now, each of these compliance frameworks are siloed. They're just by themselves. Rightfully so. You've got Group A looking at their compliance, Group B looking at their compliance, Group C their compliance. They're all doing their best job. But nobody's looking across, except for you as a business. For you as a business, you need to look across all these works and to try to find which one's applicable for me, which one's not applicable for me. Do I hit that small medium business threshold, or don't I hit that threshold, employee threshold, revenue threshold? There's rules that are interpreted differently. So the first step that we did, can we actually get a hub together where we have all these frameworks, all these compliances, and actually get them in an overview, just a simple map? If you show the website, I can do it on the website. Or is it going? If you can go to the website, yes, I can show you the website, and if you can present it, I'll do it. And also a big thank you to our previous experiences with compliance. She gave us small tips and some initiatives, and we worked on them. So now as a company, and we're still building it out further, you can click on it and say, hey, I'm established in, we just talked about Panama and Costa Rica. If you go to the compliance, and we go to the Americas, had that session and talk about it. We talk to Mexico, for instance. You're talking about Dominican Republic, and then we can actually see the different types of compliances. Now, a lot of countries have their own government compliance frameworks. But what we did is not just take governmental framework, also the industrial ones. So for instance, a government would never highlight Green Key because it's an industry one, it's a voluntary one. But we've actually highlighted them in the overview. As a startup, a medium enterprise, as a business, you can actually see this. Now, then we asked ourselves, what's the next challenge that we need to resolve? And the next challenge that we need to resolve is how do we get those data filled in as quick and as easy as possible? You mentioned Green Key, Brad, or Green Step. you to fill that in preparation for the audit? About 8 hours.
Actually, quite a bit more. Yeah.
Exactly. So 8+ hours with all that data. But that's only with Green Step. If you look at some of the other certificates and compliance and sustainability aspects that they have, they need to reuse data. And this is, we also developed that platform where we can actually use the data and have it go across the different areas. So for instance, if you fill it in for Green Step and you have a language one that also requires you how much to use or how much CO2, that data is reused at the very same time. And that means, for instance, the example that we did for the mad fibers, because of the internet, we now actually have an overview, and you can actually scan this QR code with your phone, and you actually have access then to all that data. How much to what kind of frameworks do you require, and you can do this. Now, this is where the next innovation happens. This is just for product. You can do this for your restaurants, your providers, anything you want. You can actually so I'm giving the big thank you because of the big sponsoring. That should be a big thank you, Andrea. So think about this. Say you're a tourist, because we talked about sustainable, and you're a vegan, and you go to a restaurant claiming that vegan friendly. How do you know that? How can you prove that? And with the templates and the data that we've put in certain frameworks that you need to comply to be vegan friendly, you stick out our code, put it on, people scan it, and you have all the data there. We've split it up between public data, so public to general audience, but also data for auditors. You might want to not share your secrets in nuclear options that they might want to show all that data, but for the auditors, there's a separate view. Now, what can we do with this? We can now, start aggregating all this data. So that means when we have a region, we just heard about the Urban Development Act, we can actually aggregate the information for each of these businesses. So we have a car repair business, we could have a production company that makes pasta, we could have a hotel, each of them are industries, but they're all on that same platform, and we can actually aggregate the information. So therefore, and in Madeira running a pilot for that, we can actually see how much water are you using, what is it actually derived by, what are the contributing factors that are triggering that water usage, what's driving the diversity and inclusion, which industries are doing it more and which are doing it less. So this helps us there for financial, economic benefits, but also sustainable benefits. And this would actually make a big transition towards some of the climate goals that we have both in Europe as well as on the international stage. So coming to a closure, because I think lunch is coming close, and I don't think that, yeah, that's right. I just want to leave you with two things as it's loading. The first thing I want to leave with you is, as Islanders, innovation is critical. Pushing it through and being supported by a network of environments is really great. I want to thank you, the Madeira, for helping and supporting and initiating some initiatives that we had. is all Startup Madeira, which helps startup companies on the island to progress and to develop into further establishments. The other thing I want to thank also is the networks that we've been part of, because we were able to test and validate some of the platform designs as it just progresses with a network of environmentalists, as well as a network of validated what is required and what. And this was also a big initiative that was really helpful. So a big thank you for that. We are still in the development phase, in the piloting phase, together with the Madeira government, and hopefully we can sign something soon, Andre. And if you want to be one of the 3 pilot projects, we would gladly be so. We are expanding the number of pilots, both in Madeira. If there's any volunteers here, that if you have a business or a service, if you're an NGO, we've been discussing some of the government entities, please step by. It takes a few minutes and we can get going and get some exercise going. For any companies outside of Madeira, we would love to get with you. Right? This is an open invitation to work with you on some of the things that you've been doing. Extract, it has the that's required in there. And any of the experts in the audience or listening in, if you have any thoughts about compliance frameworks that you're struggling with or interactions that we need to go forward with, discussions with some lawyers, capacity is a big issue. All right, there's only so many people that can do so, and this platform can help people do more work with the high level of quality. So with that, big thank you for the stage. Big thank you for solving the IT. Really appreciate it. Scan the QR code, reach out to me. I'll be around, and I would love to talk to you and learn from you as well. So big thank you.
Agradecemos esta sessão que nos ofereceu ferramentas concretas para o que diz respeito, afinal, a todas as organizações, independentemente da sua dimensão do setor de atividade. Chegamos assim ao término desta manhã. Ao longo destas intervenções, fomos convidados a refletir sobre o papel das ilhas enquanto territórios de visão, adaptação e capacidade transformadora. Sustentabilidade, inovação, identidade cultural, desenvolvimento económico e responsabilidade coletiva, emergiu uma ideia comum, a de que os territórios insulares, apesar da sua dimensão geográfica, possuem uma extraordinária capacidade de influenciar o pensamento global e construir modelos mais equilibrados para o progresso. Num tempo marcado por profundas transições ambientais, tecnológicas e sociais, as ilhas afirmam-se não como espaços periféricos, mas como verdadeiros laboratórios. Essa capacidade de unir tradição e modernidade, comunidade e inovação, território e visão estratégica que orientar os trabalhos previstos para esta tarde. Convidamos agora todos os participantes para o almoço que se seguirá aqui no Hotel Vida-Mar. O nosso regresso acontecerá talvez pelas 14h35, uma vez que nos estendemos aqui um pouco mais no tempo. Desejamos a todos um excelente almoço. Obrigada.
You have the internet. That is fine. Think of his presentation.
And I want to, I will. That's mentioned. Sit there. Because, okay. That I was part of that I realized that she just was expired for every.
Ela falou em português, mas eu não queria subir ao palco e mudar. Porque isso, mas é para não subir ao palco, mudar idioma e mudar outra vez. Ok, isso pode guardar ainda. Aham.
Então deve ser este nome aqui. Isto se pode fechar. Ok, então deve ser este aqui. Ontem?
Então,
A partida temos. Já vamos ver.
já vamos ver se as redondas estão a dar parques. Ela diz que tem um vídeo.
Tem.
Ok. O vídeo está ok. A partir do som está ok, tem que ser ativo na regi. Como a gente vai fazer os testes com as maravilhas legendas que a Filipe tem isto em pré-definido. Até já.